Queens.
This is what makes women's basketball so fire.
I mean, I just love playing the game. It's fun.
To see how far the game has grown has been amazing.
They say nobody watching. That's a lot of people. There's a lot of people in there, Martin.
Yeah, I think I've always just been able to get downhill.
When recess came, like, I had my sneakers on.
I hit them with a hezzy. After that, they quit.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by Basketball Society. With me, as always, my brother in Christ, my partner in women's basketball crime, unintentionally matching with me this morning. Martin Stories. How are you feeling, my guy?
Raising the roof.
Absolutely.
On this Tuesday morning.
Wednesday.
Sorry. One of those. It's that time. It's that time.
Maybe I should have let you get your 15 minutes.
Yeah. See. Yeah, no meditation first thing in the morning. You don't know where the day could take you. You may not know what the day is. Someone like me. No, but feeling good, man. WNBA is back. Good to be back here on a live Wednesday morning for anyone who's joining us live. Good to have you here. We say welcome back, but it might be a welcome, might be somebody's first time here. So good to have anyone here on the Protect Our Queens podcast. We talk women's basketball every week here live on the show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right here, Basketball Society, and stay tapped in with us. When I first saw the Protect Our Queens logo, I thought, hell yeah, Freddie Mercury was dope. This is one of our better commenters right here. I'm a staple of the show at this point. The comments just keep them rolling. Keep them rolling, Ghost.
Look at Mike Hughes. You need a beer?
See, that's that Chicago. That's that
at
Chicago,
9 o'clock in the morning.
White Chicago mentality.
Actually,
8
in the morning for Mike Hughes.
Exactly. You're Central Time, Mike Hughes. What are we doing?
Talking about a beer.
All that said, nothing wrong with a good cold beer at any time. So salute, Mike Hughes. Cheers, my brother. Hope you're doing well, man.
I'm not a beer guy. Deacon and the Heathen.
Wow.
That's funny. That's a good one. Nope, that's a good one.
Bad.
That's good.
That's not bad.
That's good. It's good, Josh. How you feeling, baby? Shout out my guy Josh, man. Shout out my guy Josh.
Is Josh is Josh one of your guys in DC, or is he a New Yorker?
Josh is he's out here with me. Shout out my guy.
I was just checking. Hit him with the year. I'm like, with Knicks energy.
Josh is a Philly fan, and he swears he's from New York. There's a whole thing going on there with Josh. But he don't know where he want to be from on any given day in the week. But we love Josh. We do.
What up, Josh? What's up, bro?
There is a lot to talk about this morning. We are going to spend, as the title says, we are going to spend all of our time this morning talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, starting with the foul that took place on Saturday during the game, and then switching over to kind of getting more in depth to just the dynamics of Caitlin and Angel throughout the course of the show. So as always, please feel free to flood the comments with your thoughts, your questions, your opinions, your ideas, and all that good stuff, because as always, we want to hear from you. So Martin, let's just start it off simple. We've all seen the foul. In your opinion, Martin, was it just a hard foul, or did it warrant being upgraded to a flagrant?
I thought it was just a hard foul. I think even Ryan Rucco said it during the game. I think that they did take into account the history between the two players. And I think that did contribute to upgrading it just to prevent any further escalation. I think that did come into play. The one piece of it that I think also made it more of a flagrant foul was like, and I always struggle with this in basketball. We were just talking about SGA before we came on a little bit, and like foul baiting and stuff. And it is part of many sports in terms of selling it, flopping, sell the foul and all that. So I struggle sometimes when I see a player who I know is not strong enough to move another player, and then the other player acts like that they just moved them. So I struggle with that sometimes, because it's like, I'm pretty sure she can't push her like that. But at the end of Caitlin did a hard swipe down on the ball, which I feel like it's kind of a nuanced thing with basketball, Marcus. Maybe you've experienced it in times that you've played where, and like who it was, I think does matter. what happened right before the play where Caitlin because Angel kind of gave Aaliyah Boston a little shove in the back. Could have been a foul. I think that was fine to not call. I think it was just kind of incidental play. She kind of gave her a little elbow before she got the offensive rebound. Caitlin turns is like, yo, you didn't see that? No foul call. So then she kind of doubles down, goes to Angel, and it's like, there's different reasons to foul her there. One, you're frustrated because you feel like your teammate got fouled. Two, she's about to get a layup, and she's not as strong of a free throw shooter, so you should foul someone like that. Send her to the free throw line, sure. So I think she was a little frustrated, and then also it was the right basketball play to put a player like that on the free throw line. I think she went for the ball, but also knowing like, hey, if I don't get the ball, it's okay. It's going to be a hard foul. So that's a nuanced thing sometimes when you want to kind of just take a hard foul, but you're still kind of going for a steal. Like it could end up being a steal. So I think she went for the ball knowing, hey, I'll probably foul her, but let me see if I could still get the ball. At the very end, it was just like the little like chicken wing shove on it. I don't know if you noticed, but like her elbow kind of came out.
Yeah.
Like a full, like, shove, like push her to the ground. But there was just a little extra like thing on the end. Now, I don't know if that was like enough to actually get Angel off her feet and like push her to the ground. I don't think it was that forceful, but it was a little extra action with the arm there where if you watch it, there was like some follow through. So that's where I think them watching it again, plus the history, is what turned it into a flagrant foul. But I overall, I think it was just a hard foul.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I don't think they upgraded to a flagrant foul if not for the push in the back with Caitlin's left hand. Like, I don't. And so I think now, to your point, I do also find it somewhat comical sometimes when you see bigs falling to the ground after being pushed or something by a guard, and you're like, that's not really, that's not really the case. But to bring up a point that was made on Gil's Arena, I believe it was yesterday when they were talking about it, they had Cheryl Swoops on the show. And Gil had brought up the point that as a guard, right? Like if you played, so you know this, if you're a guard trying to foul another guard, the amount of force and the amount of impact that you would have to put on a guard in a hard foul situation to stop them from scoring, not as much as you would need to stop a big from scoring because they're bigger than you, right? And that's not a basketball. I mean, you fight someone that's 6'3", there's a difference between fighting someone that's 6'3", fighting someone that's 5'8". There is a difference there, right? So I do think that is also a part of it. Now, do I think that these refs need to be out here every single game and be like, oh, that's a guard on a big, so that force, like, no, that's too much. But I think in this instance, I think it's both. I think it was a hard foul with what you were saying. It's a great basketball play. Angel Reese, not known as a good free throw shooter. You want her to be at the line, earn the 2 as opposed to just get the 2 points easy, right? She was wide open. She would have made the layup as opposed to, the flagrant foul. Like I said, I think the flagrant part just comes on the fact that she did push her. And I think that in the moment, most frames that you're seeing, you don't see that push. In fact, I mean, I saw the push a little bit, but I wasn't entirely sure. It wasn't until I got on Twitter and I guess a fan in the building or some media member in the building had angle from the opposing end of the floor, and that's what showed Caitlin pushing on the left hand. And I'm assuming that maybe the ref who was standing behind them also saw that, and that's what led to the flagrant. I do think that you're right. I do think that the history between the two players does play a big part in this as well, as far as just like this is a thing that's happened. But I do also want to touch on a part of this whole fouling thing that was brought up in Gil's Arena, because Gil, or maybe I think it was Cheryl Swoops, had asked where Angel's teammates were when that happened. And we that was something that came up a lot last season when Caitlin was getting all of her hard fouls, right? That was something that even came up a bit. It comes up just in general when someone's getting hard foul, like where your teammates at. I don't remember vividly. I don't remember seeing anyone explicitly coming over from Chicago to help out with Angel and kind of calm her down. The first thing I saw was Aaliyah Boston getting in her face a bit, which is what led to Aaliyah Boston getting the tech, which I don't agree with. I do, though, think that I did see Ariel Atkins get a little bit audible and like stand up off of the bench, but she was on the bench, so she didn't come on. She couldn't come on the floor in that instance. But here's what I will say, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because obviously when it comes to Caitlin Angel, there's always if the shoe were on the other foot thing. And we don't have to play the if game because we have seen the shoe on the other foot before. We saw it all last season, right? So when Angel Reese got choke slammed, like we were back in the Attitude Era by Alyssa Thomas last season in Chicago against the Sun, right? People were saying Angel Reese didn't get up as quickly then the way that she did with Caitlyn, and that is the justification for why people think that Angel hates Caitlyn and all this other stuff. Well, there's a difference, Martin, I'm sure, between getting pushed in your back and getting slammed to the ground. So I don't really think that this is a matter of if the shoe were on the other foot, it would have been called differently thing. I think if Angel did this to Caitlyn, I think it would have been called a flagrant and a hard foul, just the way I think that was here.
If Angel does it to Caitlyn, it looks a lot worse too.
It does. You're right.
Size and strength disparity.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah,
you're right. It does look a little bit differently, but I think at the end of the day, like the unfortunate thing about this stuff is it's like we're right back to where we were with like the whole Kennedy Carter thing last season, right? Yeah. Same two teams, obviously, Kennedy instead of Angel, but similar situation. And instead of Angel being fouled, obviously it was Caitlyn. I wish that we could go back to the time when like you could see a hard foul or you could see a flagrant foul and you could be like, oh, that's a flagrant. Oh, no, it's not. And then go back to basketball and not get a bunch of thick pieces and doctoral dissertations on Twitter as soon as it happens, right? Personally, I think if you think it's a flagrant foul, you're not wrong. I think if you don't think it's a flagrant foul, you're not wrong. I really think it just depends on how you digested what you saw. If they don't call that a flagrant, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's not. I know the one word that kept coming up during the game that Ryan Ruocco kept bringing up was like, is it unnecessary? I don't know the exact criteria for flagrant foul. I know there's something, obviously hitting in the head, like safety, that kind of thing. But he kept using the word unnecessary. Mm-hmm. And when watching it and when you see again, I don't think Caitlyn like followed through on some crazy stuff, but there was like I honestly feel like it was more so incidental. Like you kind of like lose control of your body a little bit. And after and then Angel's body reacts and then she kind of just, and then like if Caitlyn was really trying to do something and make a statement, she wouldn't have like walked away like that. She almost came off looking like a punk. Like she was like, she didn't like own it. She kind of walked away like, oh, I didn't do anything. Well, it's also because she feels like she just made a hard foul. She wasn't trying to really make a statement. So, and I'm not trying to like, I don't think there's innocent or guilty at all here. I'm not trying to make it seem like whatever. I'm just saying like, I don't think she was trying to do anything really malicious here. I think it was just heat of battle. Hard foul might turn into looking like something more. And she just walked away like, hey, like, I definitely don't want any smoke. And also like, I don't think I really did anything that warranted this, like her going at me like that. So, and listen, on Angel's side, let's also be upfront about they're down by 14. Angel's not playing well, right? So frustration builds up. Now, to your point, no, she didn't go at Alyssa Thomas like that because when she turns around and sees that it was a little white girl who pushed her, like if it was Sabrina who did that to her, I think she would have gone after Sabrina because it's like, yo, what are you like? Not you, not you pushing me to the ground.
Yeah,
I'm not taking that from. So, and I think the fact that it was Caitlyn does add a little bit to it, not because I think she hates Caitlyn, but because I think the one thing that is true that people have to just like objectively admit when it comes to Angel and how she reacts and responds to Caitlyn stuff, she's always asked about this girl. Even now, like when in the press conferences and stuff, she's just trying to move on. Anything related to that, let's just move on. It's clearly not good for her mental health. Like she has taken so much abuse and vitriol literally just related to just from Caitlyn fans, just from Caitlyn people. They've got a whole new investigation going on now from fans heckling her at the game. So when she sees Caitlyn, I don't think it's a natural, I hate you. I think they've been fine up to this point. I think it's just all the things that we've added to this rivalry that's not really a rivalry, and all of her fans that continue to pounce on her and abuse her and say all this. So then when, again, all that considered, plus you're down 14, you're not playing well, you turn around and it's her that did it. And listen, maybe some of the external stuff has started to create some actual tension between these two where it's like, hey, you know what? I just can't rock with you at this point. It's nothing that you did. It's not like I think that you're a bad person. It's just that all the stuff that these people are making around us. And look, who knows? No one can say unless they know them personally if they actually don't like each other. On the surface, from afar, it's easy to assume, yep, they don't like each other. They just don't like each other. And that's what some people have reduced it to. Like, hey, this is bad blood. Like, they don't like each other, and that's fine, And I don't think it's just that. I think it's more of what people have doctored up, and the Caitlin Clark coalition, as you call them, constantly attacking Angel. And then unfortunately, Caitlin is kind of the face of that, not because she condones it, but because it's mostly her people that are heckling Angel all the time. So I think that adds to her frustration when she sees her and she's the one who just pushed me down and she's walking away trying to act like she didn't do anything. It's like, no, you're not innocent here. Like you gotta, like, if you want to dish it out, you got to be able to take it too. And that's Angel's mentality.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, listen, I don't think Caitlin Clark is a dirty player. I do not think Caitlin Clark is a dirty player. I want to make this crystal clear.
Okay.
But if you've watched Caitlin Clark games, there have been moments where Caitlin Clark has done this before and gotten away with it. Where like there's this video that whenever this happens, there's this video from her in college. I think she's playing Purdue and she's up on the wing and 3-point line and she pushes a girl like 3 times right in front of a ref. Girl falls, nothing happens. Right. I think back to when the Fever played the Mystics last season, not preseason, but last season, regular season game. It was in Indiana. And she did the same thing to, I believe it was Julie Van Loot, where she just like pushed her like 2 or 3 times in front of the ref. Nothing happened. Right. And so again, I don't think Caitlin is a dirty player, but I have, and as I explained in the conversation I was having about this on Saturday, Caitlin has done stuff like this before. Like she does the little push thing and then walk away. And by the time the player who she's pushed has gotten up and now approaches about it, she's at the free throw line or at the 3-point now. So now it looks like whoever she pushed is chasing her or trying to attack her in that regard, right? Like this has happened before. And so again, number one, I think if this were any 2 other players, this wouldn't be a conversation, right? And I think about, it's actually funny, Nick Andre, who we've had on the show, every time something of this happens, he always posts either a screenshot or a clip from that game between, I believe it was Detroit and LA that ended up in an all-out brawl. He just always posts
Malice at the Palace.
No, the WNBA game where
sorry.
Yeah, and he always just posts that picture and it's like, y'all wouldn't have survived this when like I don't remember what happened. I wasn't alive to see it, but like that was like a massive thing.
Yeah.
Where they're always like, the WNBA has always been physical, and he always posts that picture, and it always makes me laugh because it's like, if this weren't Caitlin and Angel, you and I would not be spending 30 minutes today talking about this. We'd be talking about what we originally had planned to talk about today, right? We wouldn't be getting doctoral dissertations and think pieces and idiots like Robert Griffin III, who's going to get his in just a little bit, sharing their thoughts on the internet for the world to see. And so I say all that to say, like, at the end of the day, like I said, hard foul, flagrant foul, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, like you said, it was a basketball play. Caitlin would rather send Angel to the free throw line than give her an easy layup, as any basketball player would when you have a player like Angel who's not a good free throw shooter in that type of position. At the same time, though, Caitlin did push her. So, like, it's referee's discretion whether or not they want to call it a flagrant or just a common foul. Right. And their decision, whether you agree with it or not, considering all the factors, you can't really go wrong one way or the other. Like, given everything that you have to take into account when it comes to Angel and Caitlin, when it comes to Chicago and Indiana, that's really not a bad call to make one way or the other, whether they just left it as a common foul or they made it a flagrant. And so I feel like, at the end of the day, like, there's other things at play here, obviously, which we're going to talk about in a second, but the foul portion of it really, I think, is just just the tip of the iceberg, but with these two.
Yeah, and to your point, it has happened before. It could happen again in basketball when you are frustrated that you feel like your teammate just got fouled, no call. The person who you think fouled them gets the ball and is about to score. You'll take a hard foul. Like, that's basketball. And so this could happen again with Caitlin could do it herself to somebody else. And you say, do it, just the hard foul thing. Like, it could happen with another player and it won't cause all of this ruckus. It won't call it. It's the fact that it's the two of them, as we know.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a bit. Let's talk a little bit more about Caitlin and Angel just individually. Before we do that, though, let's toss it back to a clip from a couple months ago when we had Nick Andre on the show. We don't have to live in a world where it's one or the other. It's black or white. And I don't mean black or white like race. I mean black or white like just figuratively. Like we don't have to just be definitively on one side or the other. We can appreciate who Caitlin Clark is as a player and what she brings to the floor the same way that we could and should appreciate who Angel Reese is and what she brings to the floor. The same way we show love to Asia Wilson and Stewie, the same way we show love to the Aces and the Liberty, the same way we've shown love over the course of their careers to LeBron and Steph. Like we can do that. It doesn't have to be, oh, well, they're on the pros now, so I got to pick a side.
That was more than a couple months ago, Marcus. A couple months is March, February. That was
You think so?
September. We've got to work on your time, your time,
Dude,
frame.
a couple. It was, bro, the other day to me could be anywhere from 2 days ago to a year ago. It doesn't. My concept of time sucks.
Is that a generational thing? Where do you get that from? Is that a DC thing? What is that?
Well, no, you know what? I think it started from COVID because all my days started running together and I couldn't keep track of time. And I don't think I've fully recovered from that because
that's fair. That'll do it.
I actually thought yesterday was the 22nd. I was talking to someone at work yesterday and I said, my birthday's in 4 days. And she said, today's the 20th. I was like, oh. That's not good. So yeah, it might be. Yeah, I don't know. You might be right. Maybe I need to go. Maybe I need to meditate. Maybe that'll help.
Maybe. Yeah, because I had the day wrong to start the show, so that's it. We both need to tackle.
I need to meditate. If you're just now joining us, we are talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. We talked a little bit about the foul. We're going to switch gears a bit and answer the question on the screen. I do have some thoughts about RG3, but before I get in my soapbox and rip RG3 a new one, I do just want to ask you this question that's on the screen here because it's my question. It's my genuine question. I want to know, do you think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are bad for the WNBA at this point?
I think it's a valid question, and I want to hear what you have to say on this too, because you clearly have a feeling on this. I think it's a valid question at this point because it's so toxic. It's so toxic. So I'm a little torn because I don't want to be one of these people that argues that, well, it's bringing more eyeballs. More people are interested. More people are talking about it. That doesn't always mean that it's good. It might be good for ratings, might be good for business. So in that sense, maybe you can't say that it's bad because this is driving attention, which is going to help to drive revenue. And that's what we want, the people who love and support the WNBA, but at what cost? And I mean, my hope is that the influx of attention is going to force people to watch with their eyes how high level of a basketball product the WNBA is. But we do live in a society where people are ready to be toxic and messy and argue on Twitter about stuff. And so in that sense, I mean, I think that there is an element of this being bad for the WNBA because it's bringing attention not to the basketball, obviously. I mean, some of it, like when we're talking hard foul versus flagrant foul, that's basketball, but the larger context of this rivalry of this kind of, obviously the race stuff is baked into it. So that sucks. You know, that's not a good thing. So, I mean, these two, every time when they play, they're going to draw a crowd. They're going to draw ratings and numbers. And again, that's good for the WNBA, but the toxic stuff is just, it does give it a bad look. I think it's just too much arguing and picking sides, as you said in the clip. So I don't know. I'm still kind of torn on it because I know that there's more attention coming to the WNBA because of this, and I hope on the other side it can turn into something good. But for now, it's giving very toxic at this point. Once that thing went down, I'm watching the game. Once I'm like, really great. Here we go again. These two. And in a way, you want, and I know you asked me too, not to change the question, but like, are they actually rivals? And it's like, No, they had a moment together. They don't play the same position. There's multiple reasons why they're not actually rivals. The people made this a rivalry, made this a thing. And so that has people more interested and stuff. And so cool. But the toxic stuff for me, just for my personal opinion and preference, that's just annoying. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it is very annoying and toxic.
Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, I'm convinced, are bad for the WNBA. Off the floor, anyway. On the floor, they are two good basketball players, both with flaws. Both of them are flawed, but they're still two good basketball players who do different things exceptionally well, who for their communities and for young girls in their different communities are role models.
Yeah.
And they should be respected and they should be discussed as such. Now, when I go on Twitter and I see Robert Griffin III use his fingers and say, after watching Caitlin Clark's flagrant foul on Angel Reese in the aftermath, there's no way Angel Reese can continue to lie that she doesn't like Caitlin Clark. I know what hatred looks like. Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, not some basketball rivalry hate either. Hate. So here's the thing. That tweet let me know that RG3 forgot where he came from. That's what that tweet says to me, because I remember back in 2011 when RG3 had a very similar year to the year that Angel Reese had in 2023, minus winning a national championship, winning awards left and right, breaking records left and right, being highly touted as a top draft pick in the NFL. And he was that, right? People that talked about the NFL, people who evaluated quarterbacks, people who evaluated football talent, said they didn't like RG3 because he wasn't a traditional quarterback. And we all know what a traditional quarterback is. They're talking about a white guy. Talking about a Tom Brady guy, a Ben Roethlisberger guy, a Drew Brees guy, Joe Montana, Steve Young. These are the traditional quarterbacks that they're talking about. So for RG3,
and wasn't he compared to a very particular one at the time, if I'm not mistaken? Indianapolis Colts?
He was compared to
wasn't
it
him?
The position of RG3 and Andrew Luck.
Wasn't that the
Andrew
thing?
Luck
Yeah.
Was number one overall pick. He had the highest litmus test score for a quarterback in NFL history. He had the highest draft IQ ever. You talk to a guy like John Gruden who loves quarterbacks. John Gruden is on record as saying that Andrew Luck is probably the smartest quarterback he's ever coached against. And this is a guy who's coached against Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. So when you're in that position as a first overall draft pick, as a Heisman winner in 2011, coming to Washington, D.C., and having to kind of do for Washington what Angel Reese is trying to do for Chicago, be the face of the franchise, revitalize the franchise, get fans interested, take them to the playoffs, win championships potentially, for you to get on Twitter and say that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, when all Angel Reese has ever had to do since winning a national championship in 2023 is constantly defend herself against idiots like you who don't know basketball, who refuse to just talk basketball, who can't talk about Angel Reese without comparing her to Sid the Squirrel from Ice Age, who can't talk about Angel Reese without talking about the fact that the only thing she does better than Caitlin Clark is wear booty shorts. The fact that you can't sit down and talk to Angel Reese and just evaluate the basketball. This is a player who, as far as I know, since 2023 has always been a leader or one of the leaders in rebounding in whatever league she's been in. She led the country in rebounding, I believe, in both seasons at LSU. She set the record for rebounds per game just last season in Chicago. Like, this is what she does. She's a good basketball player. And so for you, a black man, to tear down a black woman in today's society, it's a really questionable decision. I think back to when we had Chaz Franklin on the show, right? And one of the things that Chaz Franklin said when we were talking about he was talking about what it meant to be from Philly. And he said, if you got out of Philly, that means you were cut from a different cloth, right? When I think about certain cities across the country, when we talk about, what it means to make it out of that city, you think about Philly, you think about Detroit, Baltimore's on that list.
Oh, yeah.
Making it out of Baltimore is no easy feat. And she didn't just make it out of Baltimore. She's a champion at every single level. She's a role model. She does well on the floor. She's doing well for herself off the floor. We're talking Reebok. We're talking Reese's Puff. We're talking about Beats. She was just one of the decision makers for the Met Gala just this season. So RG3, I understand everyone has an opinion in today's world. I get it, right? But if anybody could understand the plight of being young, gifted, and Black in your sport and being talented and not getting the credit you deserve because there just so happens to be a white player in the same sport doing just as well, if not better than you, who got drafted a little bit higher than you, who other people gravitate towards a little bit more just because of the color of your skin, if anyone should understand that, it should be RG3. So for him to be the one to go onto Twitter and fuel this narrative that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, it's bogus to me. I don't think Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. In fact, Angel Reese has said on record several times that she doesn't hate Caitlin Clark. She's even said after the national championship game, they hung out and had dinner and are friends and they're cool. They've been playing together for a very long time. But
Cheryl Miller said they were having fun together during All-Star weekend.
They were having fun together
on the same team.
Absolutely. Here's what I do think, though. I do think that Angel Reese is sick of the Caitlin Clark questions. Angel Reese has done more than enough in her own basketball career without Caitlin Clark, where if you have a question for Angel Reese, it should be about Angel Reese. I, too, would be sick if every time someone saw me, they asked me a question about Martin. Yeah. If you want to ask a question about Martin, here's a crazy idea. Ask Martin.
Yeah, and guess what? That could turn into, like I said before, that could understandably turn into you then hating that person. And I'm not saying, I don't think Angel hates her either. I just think it's justifiable if she has started to maybe dislike her a little bit more, because she has said on multiple records that they're fine. I don't hate her. I don't dislike her. We may not be friends, but like, we're fine. I don't have anything against her. Unfortunately, all the external stuff may be understandably making her not like her as much. And that's understandable. Like, if that's the case,
doesn't like,
that's understandable.
Yeah. I don't think Angel Reese likes the idea of Caitlin Clark anymore. I think that's who it is. I think Caitlin Clark, the person, I think she's fine with the idea of Caitlin, because you have to think about too. People, there are so many. You would think, right? If you've been in a coma for the last 3-4 years and you just woke up and got on Twitter and you just looked at the discourse between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, you'd think number one, you'd think Angel Reese was a bum. You'd think she was the worst basketball player to ever grace the planet. But number two, more importantly, you would think that Angel Reese wasn't the one who won the national championship in 2023. You would think that Angel Reese was just an irrelevant nobody before sharing the floor with Caitlin Clark. You would think that Angel Reese is a scrub, and none of those things are true. So when we talk about rivalries, right, I don't think they're rivals because, like you said, they don't play the same position. They didn't play enough before the WNBA for them to even be considered rivals beforehand. They shared the floor one time, maybe ever, before that national championship game, and then it just skyrockets, right? Then, of course, they meet each other again the following year in the tournament, and obviously Iowa wins, right? So that adds fuel to it, right? But here's the issue, and this is why I think Caitlin and Angel are bad for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark and Angel, the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky have to play each other 4 more times. They play each other 5 times this season. They have to play each other 4 more times.
Wow.
This is just the conversation on day 2 of the season.
Yeah.
There are still 4 more games of this. So guess what happens now for the next 4 matchups that we get between these 2 teams? No matter what Angel does, no matter what Caitlin does, no matter what Aaliyah Boston does, Camille Cardoso, Ariel Atkins, any of these other teams, no matter what these teams do individually, when we get to game 2 of this 5-game series, the first thing that everyone's going to bring up is what happened on Saturday.
Yeah.
When we get to game 3 of this series, no matter what happened in game 2, everyone's going to be thinking about what happened on Saturday. When we get to games 4 and 5 of this series, no matter what happens between all the previews of the games, everyone's still going to be reminded of what happened on Saturday. God forbid these 2 teams end up in a playoff series and have to play each other 5 more times potentially. When you look at promo packages for the games, that clip, that picture will probably be thrown in there. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese individually deserve more than to be reduced to this sick obsession with race wars. If you want to have a race war, build yourself a time machine and go back to the 1800s. And you can have all the race wars you want. They were happening all over the world. If you want to talk basketball, if you want to evaluate talent, if you want to, produce genuine opinions about the talent of Caitlin Clark and the talents of Angel Reese, the potential of the Indiana Fever, the potential of Chicago Sky, do that. But enough of this nonsense about Angel hating Caitlin or Caitlin and Angel being rivals, because they're not, bro. Because just as well as Angel Reese has her flaws, Caitlin Clark got her flaws too. And just as well as Caitlin Clark has set all of these records, Angel Reese has set all of these records too. The only deferring thing that no one wants to talk about that Angel Reese has done, that Caitlin Clark hasn't done, is win a championship. But that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, because this is all about, as we talked about in October, when we did a show in October right before I left for my cruise for a week, the only thing anyone ever cares about is making sure that people understand that there's a white girl named Caitlin Clark who's really good at basketball. And there's a lot of white people out here who are racist, who don't like black people, and are using this Caitlin Angel juxtaposition to mask their racism, to mask their hate, and to mask their disgust. And so if you want to do that, that's fine. But do it somewhere else, bro. Take it somewhere else.
Yeah, and
find some other thing to do for that, because this isn't the place to do that. You want to talk about the WNBA? Let's talk about the basketball, what happens in between the lines, and keep it that. It's so annoying and frustrating that this is what WNBA discourse has become. It's just, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, what sucks too is that it's not even masking anymore. If you saw the video of some guy going around the Indiana Fever outside the arena asking Fever fans, what's one word you can use to describe Angel Reese? I've never heard so many white people use the word ghetto in my life. One guy said, you don't even want to know. So who knows what would have come out of his mouth. So it's not even masked anymore. They are outside. Yeah, in Indiana, outside that arena and inside the arena, they are out and about, loud and proud about how they feel about Angel Reese. And going back to Robert Griffin, I think what's even more egregious, because like what he said doesn't really attack Angel. It doesn't really like tear Angel down. It's, to me, what makes it egregious is that he's pitting women against each other. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it really unfortunate, where he's like trying to promote the fact that, she does hate her. It's like, first of all, who cares? Why are you feeling the need to tweet that one girl she definitely hates her? Okay.
No, Angel
Even if she does, why do we care that you think that? Why are you, yeah. Are you the bulletin board for who hates who? Yeah. Who cares? Like, really? What makes it worse to me is that you are pitting women against each other, women's basketball players against each other. If she hates her, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. Like, we don't need Robert Griffin III to sound off to let us know, like, yeah, by the way, guys, you can't tell me otherwise. She hates her. Okay.
And let's be honest.
Okay. Like, my day didn't change. Like,
right.
Okay. Like, what do you get out of that? What point are you making by saying that? Now, to your point, that does add to the nonsense and the people who want to try to call Angel out of her name and say that she's ghetto, that she's a thug, that she, unfortunately, that does add to that, because he's pitting Angel as the one that's hateful, that's aggressive, she's the one that hates her. She hates her, jealous, right? All those things. So what he said does contribute to that narrative, and it is unfortunate.
More importantly than that, and I don't, it's not even just that it's the part that bothers me, even beyond the fact that RG3 was in this position before when he was starting his career. It's also, you are a black man they're mixed, but you have black children, and this is a young black girl who, it's beyond just monkey noises and being called ghetto and all this other stuff. Like, there were AI generated inappropriate pictures and videos made of her and put all over the place. Like, she's gotten death threats. Like, it's beyond that. And so, am I saying that, because Robert is black, he should support Angel because he's black? I'm not saying that necessarily. right? I don't think that that's the end all be all line of thinking, right? I mean, we have these conversations when Obama got elected. There's a bunch of people who just said, I'm just going to vote for him because he's black. And that's like, if you just support Angel Reese because she's black, that's fine. If you only voted for Kamala Harris because she's black, that's fine. And that's your business. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as a black athlete who has gone through this before, to whether intentionally or unintentionally, to add to the suffering and the struggle of another young black athlete is a really weird choice to me, bro. It's a really weird, especially from all people, it's you, RG3. Like, I'm just going to go on a limb here. What are the odds really that Robert Griffin III has a direct line to Angel Reese or anyone in her circle where he could know for sure if Angel hates Caitlyn or not?
Exactly.
The odds are slim to none. Very, very slim. Like infinitely slim that's the case. So this is, again, your opinion that you are displaying as a fact based on what you're consuming.
Right.
What if someone went on Twitter, RG3, and said, you know what? RG3 hates Angel Luck. And you can see it in his eyes. And I know what hate looks like. How would that have made you feel? Better yet, what if someone said that RG3 hates Kirk Cousins, another white quarterback who was drafted in the 4th round by the same team that drafted you in the 1st round because you weren't their guy? You admitted to that on an episode of some podcast you were on just a couple weeks ago. What if someone said, oh, RG3 hates Kirk Cousins? You can see it in his eyes. How would that make you feel if you know that that's objectively not the case? Like, I don't understand how we can continue to do this. Last thing I'll say is this. My senior year, I had to do a 15-page research paper. I decided to talk about the way that black athletes and white athletes are indiscriminately covered in the media. If you look up any black athlete, no matter what the sport is, you're likely going to find something scandalous or something controversial about them first before you hear anything good about them, right? Most people know Serena Williams as an all-time great tennis player. A lot of people, though, got introduced to Serena Williams because of the cat suit that she wore at one of the tennis tournaments a couple years ago, right? A lot of people love Rutgers women's basketball. I got a podcast with them. There are some people, though, who were introduced to Rutgers women's basketball because of some idiot who got on the radio and called them nappy-headed hoes not too long ago, right? I can go on and on and on and on and on. So when you sit here as a black man who has been subjected to this level of rhetoric from white people and to indulge in that in a way on another black athlete, to me personally, I think you're foolish. I think you're an idiot. I think you're a hypocrite. And I can't support someone who does that. Like, you were in this seat, bro. 13 years ago, you were in this seat dealing with the same stuff. In fact, worse, because the black quarterback in 2011 was not nearly as prevalent in the league the way that it is now, right? There weren't half as many successful, consistently good black quarterbacks in the NFL when RG3 entered the league the way they are now. So it was even worse. And this is what you're portraying. This is what you're choosing to feed into. Angel Reese is a really good basketball player, despite her flaws. As far as I can tell, she's a good human being, and she's got a lot of good things going for her. And if you're going to sit here and talk about Angel Reese and not keep it basketball, I don't have any more words for you. I would love to have a conversation about Angel Reese without someone trying to bring up Caitlin Clark. I'd love to have a conversation about Caitlin Clark without someone trying to bring up Angel Reese. They don't have to be connected. Like, they shared a moment on a basketball court 2 years ago. They don't have to be connected forever. And like you said, when it happened, I was so pissed because my first thought wasn't even that it was Caitlin and Angel. My first thought is, we have to go through this 4 more times. That was my first thought.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, in fairness, even if that didn't happen, the Indiana-Chicago matchup is always revolved around Caitlin and Angel.
It is.
Even if the flagrant foul didn't happen.
It is. But the foul happening just...
I mean, adds to the storyline. But, there was a storyline already. Yeah. And so, again, it's unfortunate that there's a whole new incident now that they're going to point to that's going to be called back to. But if that didn't happen, they'd call back to the national championship. Caitlin and Angel is going to be a thing regardless. I'd
rather call back to the national championship game than call back to that.
No, I absolutely hear you. But, and it sucks that something new has happened, but it's almost, it's almost inevitable. They share the court. They're both competitors. They're both bad. Something was going to happen. They play against each other. They're in the pros. They're both competitors. They're both aggressors. Like, something was going to happen eventually. You know, they're crossing paths. One's going to block the other shot. One's going to like, there's always going to be moments between them. They're competing against each other. I will say quickly as my last thought, we usually do what you're talking about when it comes to like, I mean, this show, we talk about the basketball. I mean, we knew that this was something we wanted to address. It's basketball related, but there's more kind of societal, cultural things going on related to it. We know that, but hey, what you were saying before, that's usually what we do on this show, people. We talk about Caitlin Clark, the basketball player. We talk about Angel Reese, the basketball player, and we don't compare or conflate the two just for clicks and just for conversation and for chaos. We do this, like, this is what we're usually doing, is actually talking about the basketball. So I just wanted to make that clear to anyone who's watching this. Like, you don't see us talking Caitlin and Angel every single week just for the sake of argument and clicks.
Absolutely.
We're here actually talking about the basketball. So that's what we do here.
In fact, we'll be back here Friday morning to talk about the basketball, to share some of our thoughts and some of our biggest takeaways from this first week of the WNBA season. So if you haven't already hit the like and subscribe to the channel, make sure you do that, because there will be more basketball conversation coming up Friday morning. It's always a pleasure to talk women's basketball at any time of day, but especially early in the morning on Basketball Society. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please drop a like and make sure that you turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Like I said, we're going to be right back here, same time, same place, Friday morning, talking about the basketball. When you're finished subscribing, head over to Instagram and or Twitter and follow us there at @ProtectOurQueens_ on Instagram, at @POQueens_ on Twitter. The conversation doesn't just stop when the camera turns off. The conversation continues on both of those platforms as well. So again, like I said, we'll be right back here on Friday morning to talk about the basketball lineup for that. We will be revealing that over the next couple hours and days as we get ready for that show. So make sure you stay tapped in with us. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, for my guy, Martin Sories of Basketball Society, this is Marcus of the Protect Our Queens podcast signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your lives and enjoy yourselves some good, honest women's basketball conversation.